So as we all know, David Tennant is returning to Doctor Who next month as a brand new incarnation of the Doctor, the 14th Doctor. We've already seen him make his screen debut, and that all seems, to be settled and to be the case. But when he was announced to be returning back in May of last year, the BBC obviously didn't reveal that information. They wanted to keep it a surprise. There were suspicions and things from fans as soon as we saw him in the brand new outfit, in Camden, in Bristol, at the filming and everything. It seemed pretty clear, and seeing him alongside Jodie's TARDIS as well, it was like, okay, yeah, that's clearly not the 10th Doctor. It's something very different, whether it's a brand new incarnation, the 14th, whether it's a parallel universe thing, whatever. But the BBC was sort of maintaining this stance that, it would be the 10th Doctor, or at least they weren't confirming either way. That's how it appeared when it was announced that he was returning alongside Catherine Tate. It was like, oh, okay, more 10th Doctor and John adventures. Great. But obviously that's not what we're getting, or is it? Could it be that David is also playing the 10th Doctor in some capacity in the specials? Because if so, that would be a very easy way to make a multi-Doctor story without having to hire more than one actor. I think that's the key thing about this theory from a practical standpoint, and I will be discussing in detail throughout this video and the different ways in which this might happen, if it happens at all. But yes, David now has two Doctors to his name, two kind of mainline Doctors. Also, there's the Meta-Crisis Doctor, there's anything else you want to know, the Journey's End 10th Doctor after he's regenerated back into himself, all these different incarnations, But yeah, let's just say for the sake of argument, those two Doctors, the 10th and the 14th. This is one man, one actor who has played both of those characters, originated both of those characters, and, could very easily play the 10th Doctor again. So yes, although they've got him back to play a new incarnation, why not have him play the 10th Doctor as well in some capacity? I think it would make perfect sense logistically because, they'd be literally getting two for the price of one, one actor, two Doctors. So let's look at the different ways this could happen, if indeed it does happen. So first of all, we could get something akin to Day of the Doctor, where the 10th Doctor features in a kind of multi-Doctor thing, but it's like a separate strand to begin with. I suppose like any multi-Doctor story, really, where you see that Doctor in the natural habitat, getting up to some mischief with Queen Elizabeth or whatever it may be, and then maybe kind of later down the line, later on in the story, he comes face to face with the 14th Doctor, and through some kind of green screen shenanigans, they end up meeting and interacting. Because that's the thing to consider here, really, that if the 10th Doctor was back, it would make a lot of sense to get him to interact with, his other incarnation, to have the two David Tennants interacting together. Now, obviously, we have seen two Tennants on screen at once, the duplicate Doctor, the Meta-Crisis Doctor in Journey's End, so it wouldn't be entirely unprecedented, but I think it would still be a cool thing to see. I think it could kind of be a missed opportunity if they didn't do this in many ways, having the 10th Doctor and the 14th Doctor interacting, and with the production techniques and, the green screen and whatever, visual effects of these days, it would be a lot more convincing, I suppose, than the 2008 story. And yeah, I just think that that'd be a really nice thing to see. It could just be the two of them by themselves. It could be part of a bigger multi-Doctor thing where, you have Matt Smith back, you have Peter Capaldi, whatever. I mean, who knows at this point whether there are going to be more Doctors in it or not. It kind of still remains to be seen. It's still a mystery, really. But yeah, you could either just have the two of them, and obviously Shooty in there somewhere as well, but just the 10th Doctor and the 14th Doctor, or potentially, if there is a big kind of endgame team-up between all of the old Doctors, or some of the more recent Doctors, at least some of the new series Doctors, then yes, obviously you expect to see the 10th Doctor in there somewhere, so perhaps that's how it works into it. Or perhaps, alternatively, if the 10th Doctor is in the mix there somewhere, maybe it's just a brief cameo. Maybe he doesn't interact with any of the other Doctors. Maybe it's a bit like the Day of the Doctor, where obviously that they had, the 11th Doctor there, obviously they had the 10th Doctor and the War Doctor, both in their TARDISes at the end, in that big climactic moment, saving Gallifrey. They used archive footage for the other Doctors. Perhaps it's a similar thing here, where maybe, for the sake of argument, again, they use archive footage. I think they always use archive footage in every anniversary special, so it wouldn't surprise me. And then, instead of using archive footage for the 10th Doctor, they get David Tennant to film some new stuff as the 10th Doctor, just to slot in there as a brief little bit, a little brief incidental part of the plot, nothing too important, kind of presented as if it was archive footage, but actually it's something newly shot with David Tennant, like restyling his hair, in the old costume, in the old TARDIS or something, in God We Can Dream. I certainly wouldn't put that past them, to be honest, because, in terms of the old TARDIS and stuff, in terms of kind of recreating 10th Doctor material almost, in effect, a lot of the 10th Doctor era, like 90% of it, was shot in standard definition. It was only like the final few stories, like Planet of the Dead, Wars of Mars and both parts of the End of Time, you know, End of Time Part 1, End of Time Part 2, they were actually shot in HD. They were the first Doctor Who stories to be shot in high definition. And series 1 to 4, so all the 10th Doctor series plus the 9th Doctor's single series as well, have recently been remastered. They've received new remastering treatments to be included on a new Blu-ray box set, which will be released, I think, in about a month's time, sometime in November. So, you know, there is that footage for them to work with. They've already started to include that in like flashbacks and stuff in the trailers. We saw in the most recent trailer, you know, that there's a shot from Wars of Mars, the 10th Doctor in his blue suit in the TARDIS, which is one of those original HD shots from one of those original HD stories. But there are also like remastered shots from Journey's End, you know, obviously of Donna's exit, which they've had to just kind of work with what they've got there and use that standard definition footage, you know, in remastered form. But, you know, potentially in addition to all of that stuff, you know, they could recreate the 10th Doctor's era almost by having some newly shot, newly mounted material, you know, newly written material as well. And that could either appear, you know, in the episodes themselves, like I say, you know, presented with other archive footage as though it was archive footage, like lost footage from the 10th Doctor's era, or it could even be, you know, part of the wider celebrations. It could be some of this newly shot material that Russell was recently talking about. You know, perhaps they got the TARDIS set back, they got the 10th Doctor's suit back and everything, the costume, they got the Sonic and everything, and they just recorded a little minisode or something, a little bit like Night of the Doctor for the 50th, you know, get David Tennant back as the 14th Doctor, but also, you know, while he's here, by the way, can you just come and record this little minisode, this little short scene as well, you know, just to have some 10th Doctor material as well. And I think that in particular would hit all of those nostalgia buttons. You know, yes, already seeing David back as the 14th Doctor is doing that, you know, seeing him alongside Catherine Tate is doing that, but having him actually, you know, in character as the 10th Doctor in that old TARDIS with all that stuff, the Sonic and everything, you know, perhaps Catherine could be involved as well. Perhaps it could literally be like a 10th Doctor and Donna minisode or something, or newly shot scene from Series 4, and perhaps that's just a standalone thing, perhaps it plays into the wider narrative in some way, or perhaps there are kind of newly shot flashbacks or newly shot sequences that took place, you know, back in the past, and they play into the events of the present. Obviously, if this was to happen, then, you know, there would be questions about other Doctors appearing as well, and you would hope that, you know, if they were to do something like this for the 10th Doctor, then they would at least, you know, approach the other Doctors about doing something similar as well, you know, Matt Smith, you know, Peter Capaldi, who knows, you know, whether these guys are coming back. Like I say, I might have another video about it, you know, nearer at the time, just to really kind of take a look at all the evidence we've got and really kind of, yeah, just kind of take stock of all that and evaluate whether or not they are going to be in it, because, you know, it could kind of go either way at this point. But, yeah, I think this would be an easy way, like I say, to have it as a multi-Doctor story without having to have more than one actor. You know, you could have the two Doctors interacting, or you could just have David back, you know, doing something as the 10th Doctor as a standalone piece, like a mini-sode, or like a separate plot strand, or B-plot, or whatever. What are your thoughts on this theory? Do you think the 10th Doctor should also return, either alongside the 14th, or just by himself in some other standalone piece? Do you think it's a good idea? Do you think it's kind of more of a backward step, or a bad idea, maybe? A kind of unnecessary thing for them to do? You know, do you think it's something that's likely to happen? Do you think it's something that you'd want to happen? Whatever the case, whatever your thoughts, let them know in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you've got to say. If you have enjoyed this video, please do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new for more stuff like this in the future, and feel free to check out all the other stuff I've been doing recently about the 60th as well. But otherwise, until the next one, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye for now.